Hello, and welcome to Dinis Guarda Cities ABC series, our fast-growing YouTube podcast thought leadership channel, focus on profiling global leading, inspiring people, leaders, CEOs, authors, technologists, and academics, and increasing as well governments and ministers. We highlight ideas, products, inventions, software, books, and solutions to the multiple challenges and opportunities that we face, both in our cities and nations, with the advent of all the technology disruption and emerging technologies, and of course all the areas of the society 5.0, digital transformation, fourth industrial revolution, AI, blockchain, fintech, IoT, and a lot of other things. This series I've been creating in the context of the platform citiesabc.com, a new wiki for AR intelligent smart cities platform, and as well contextualized and distributed through the openbusinesscouncil.org, intelligenthq.com, and fashionabc.com. So today, I want to welcome Carlo Centonze, that is the founder of HeiQ, and someone I really admire and respect for what he's been building. Very big company that right now is going public, and which is already in that direction. And as well, someone that works in the bridge between chemicals, textile, fashion, retail, and all the areas of innovation around this, which is a massive $1 trillion industry, but very complex and then not easy to do. And I think in the case of Carlo, he has a scientific background in biology and forest engineering at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, where he graduated in 2003. And shortly that, he did an MBA in the University of St. Gallen. And as well, he has a military career. And after that, he was the co-founder of the ETH spin-off My Climate, where he took over the role of Edwin Martin between 2002 and 2003, and has been working in environment and sustainable organizations until he created the HeiQ along Dr. Murray Hay. And since 2004, he has served as the CEO and developing a firm from 2 employees to a company of 80 plus employees worldwide, and right now public company as well. So it's quite an impressive point. So HeiQ is I'm particularly interested and excited to have this interview as well, because it has a component that touches everyone in the world, because of course we all using clothes and textiles and chemicals directly or indirectly, but there's a huge component of innovation that sometimes you don't know what is coming on. And I think there's a lot of, especially with COVID-19 as well, Carlo has been building a viral block mask and a lot of different textile services that are quite innovative and can actually save a lot of lives and change a lot of different things. So welcome to our podcast series, Carlo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Dinis. It's great to be here with you, and great to have the possibility to present you HeiQ.
I want to start by, so you have quite an exciting background, because from scientific and research, you went as well to military, and you've been as well working a lot of different things. And as well, I know that you have as well some family business and different things. So I would like to start by your background, and as well as based in Switzerland, but as well with the Italian background, or part of the Italian-Swiss part. A bit of this background that I think is important to contextualize as well for people that are listening to us worldwide. We have a quite global audience.
Yeah, so thanks. I do come basically from 2 countries. My mother is German. My father is Swiss Italian with Italian origins from the ancestors. So I combine the north and the south. So I'm very well positioned in the middle with the Swiss passport, where I have been born and grown, and have taken the mentality and the approach to life, and also the approach to business, which is a very unique thing that we have in Switzerland, in how a very small country like ours is capable to play globally, and especially to play also all on top on the Global Innovation Index year by year. I think I'm very proud to be able to represent my country always, and I think we have been able to build a company that reflects open thought and also global networks, which is typical characteristics of innovative Swiss companies.
No, that is really one of the key areas, like you said, a very small, tiny country that is one of the most powerful and most influential countries in the world, both innovation, finance and a lot of different things. And as well, probably Switzerland is not so well known as a textile producer, but it's quite strong as well. And I think we're going to be talking about that. So before we go to HeiQ and as well all the work you've been doing on this area, just a background, because I think it's particularly interesting. So you have a scientific background and as well a military background, which I think in Switzerland everyone has to go through that. But I think as well sustainability and climate very conscious background. So can you tell us about that background? I think it's important, and as well, how did you came through all these things to create as well HeiQ?
So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. That's certainly something I got with the mother milk. So it's 6 generations back, always entrepreneurs. And I tried to become a scientist when I went to university. But I finally failed to become a scientist because of my impatience, which is the entrepreneurial gene that manifested itself after trying to tame it on the scientific tables. I started with biology. I ended up in environmental sciences and forestry engineering at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. And I was lucky to have a very broad education in different fields that entail from research to engineering to business, but also to a political and legal dimension that was very important at the times, early times, when you look at the key topic of climate change that started to come up in the early 2000s, where a lot of law systems and political organizations still had to be created. This was then also one of my first entrepreneurial activities. We were a bunch of students, 7 the count, and we created My Climate in the beginning to compensate the CO2 emissions from air travel. I remember this extremely hard job for very, very little salary and building this new service, if you want, to sell non-pollution to people and to compensate emissions. It turned out to be a worthwhile fight for the climate, for improvement, because we managed to push the debate on the international agenda. We managed to create a gold standard of CO2 compensation projects. And we managed to create a very nice NGO that still exists today, very proudly, with several hundreds of people working with it, in it, or for it, and with also for-profit spin-offs of my former co-founders that have fared very well in the world of CO2 emission compensation schemes. This was my first entrepreneurial experience, and I did enjoy it very much. After a couple of years of doing that, the opportunity came up to enter HeiQ and to co-found HeiQ together with Murray Height. He's a chemical engineer, Australian by birth, studied at MIT in Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston. So we combined two leading universities and skills that we could bring into then the next level company. You mentioned my army career. Well, it's not a career in Switzerland. Every citizen has to do his civil service still. Normally that's an army service. I was lucky enough to be in the pilot corps, so I could look at my wonderful country from above for a few months when I was in this division, and also learned about a very important skill, that in entrepreneurship is key, that you always have to look 5 steps ahead or think 5 steps ahead of what's going to happen, because especially in these times, entrepreneurship is very challenging, very quickly changing, and you need to be able to be agile and adapt.
When it started, it was very cutting edge, and probably people not so conscious. Now is becoming a key part, and that is particularly interesting for the industry that you are leading, because of course the fashion industry and retail industry, it's one of the biggest polluting industries, and you build a company that has a massive consciousness about that. So I would like to go right now to the creation of HeiQ, and how did you come out to that, and as well developing a firm, like you said, from 2 people to 80 plus companies, employees, and as well being strong presence all over the world. And as well, you are right now a global leader in textile innovation, creating some of the most effective, durable, and high-performance textile technologies, but as well working with very big brands, some actually the biggest brands in the planet. So I would like to hear that story, and as well, probably our audience will understand these different nuances.
Well, the story starts very simple. The story starts during a hike, and it was a hike in the Swiss Alps, and Mary and me and our then girlfriends were enjoying the wonderful scenery. But as normal during hikes, you travel light, and we didn't carry too many tech t-shirts with us. And I remember we had incredibly smelly polyester t-shirts on the 5th day. And our girlfriends did send us 100 meters ahead because the wind was coming from behind. So we were touched in our pride as engineers and confronted with a repulsion there that we had to solve. And what we tried to do is what HeiQ does. We analyzed the problem and we tried to solve the problem with science. And we said, okay, let's find why it's smelling, and let's see how we can inform this with scientific technology to solve the problem. And this is the DNA of HeiQ. It's playful, it's scientific. We go deep. We came up during that hike with our first odor control technology that we then also scaled up. We built a new plant and new mechanisms to manufacture the first compounds. And we were complete rookies when we went to market with it. And textiles, as you mentioned before, is an important market, and we were basically our first customers. We had textile t-shirts, they were smelling. We found a solution, they were not smelling after that anymore. And we could demonstrate to the market and also to ourselves that science can inform problems that are occurring. As you mentioned, the textile industry is over $1 trillion big per year. It's one of the biggest industries that we have in the world. And as you also mentioned, it's one of the most polluting industries. The global CO2 emission caused by the fashion industry only is more than 10% of the total. That's an extremely high part of responsibility that our industry is sharing in the sustainable use of resources and in creating technologies that can support sustainability instead of deteriorate sustainability in this industry. So when we created HeiQ, we created it as a company that is after materials innovation. And materials innovation for us are technologies and materials that solve a current need or anticipate a current need that is a trend, but that has not been declared yet. And what we're able to do is, or what we were able to do is to create a company from scratch. And obviously, we try to inform also the company creation with science. So we went into the economical research and looked at what does a modern company has to look like these days. So HeiQ is what you call a network organization. And you mentioned 40 PhDs. Yes, we have actually more than 40 PhDs, but we have 40 PhDs working at 16 universities for us on a daily basis on projects. And we have another bunch of PhDs, so in total we have 25 people internally that work on the research and development process, which are in constant connection with a network of brains. And HeiQ is seeking the brains where they are and engages with the brains, with the people around us that have the knowledge and the know-how, which we need to inform a problem that our industry has. This network organization thinking has allowed us to have much more reach than you could normally have, and today we are 100 people. But if you expand our ecosystem or the ecosystem HeiQ, then we are today almost 500 people that are involved on a daily basis in working for us. But as a network organization, we have the ability to stay very agile, very lean, and can very quickly move directions. And that's one of our USPs and advantages from a business model perspective. And another USP and advantage from a technical perspective is that we have decided to be what you call a multi-technology platform innovator. So HeiQ is running several types of technologies, 5 in the count, each one very distinct, which we assemble in unique ways. And this allows us to create and assemble novelty very quickly, because we have the depth into academia, we have the depth into 5 technology platforms, and we can, if you want, combine and recombine to meet the need that the industry has very, very swiftly.
This ecosystem that you build, I think, is a model for any company going forward, because we need to have this relationship with innovation, with the academy as well, because if we're not continuing innovating, we are disappearing. Everyone, I think right now, no one can afford to have a business model that goes forever, because that doesn't exist anymore. So you founded the company in 2005 with a spin-off of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. And as a leader in textile innovating, you've been creating a lot of effective, durable, and high-performance textile technologies. And you have been putting in the market a lot of these products. So can you tell us about some of these products that you've been building? And I think for people listening to us, because I know that you've been working, probably the brand, of course, is not very well known because it's a very specific brand, but you work with a lot of brands. So I think just for people that are listening to us that are using a piece of a big brand or a fashion or a sports brand, you're working with most of them. So I think this work between academia, building high-profile chemical products that are used on the textile, and as well textile products, is really impressive. So I think it would like interesting to go right now from examples that you've been building.
If you look at where we started in the odor control, that has been a very long story in our evolution, which is still ongoing. And that certainly is a very nice example. Making textiles that do not become smelly also means textiles that are more hygienic, and inform this with technology. In the beginning, we came with our first silver technology that delivered this effect, which is a biocide or biocidal effect, and has a very good presence on the market today because of its little use of raw materials and very high efficiency and durability that it can bring. Sustainably wise, a very interesting technology, because the fact that clothes don't smell prolongs the usability of them, and many consumers decide to wash clothes. Think of towels. When you wash your towel or your bed linen, it's normally when you start to have some odors of it. If you extend the hygiene time and the wash down time, you're saving a lot of resources, because 2/3 of the environmental footprint happening with textiles is happening during the use stage and not during the manufacturing stage. So then more we prevent frequent textile care, washing, etc., then more sustainable the eco footprint of a piece of textile that you are using is. So this is still actual. Over the years, we have informed this space with bio-based technology. So today we do odor control with our bio-based amino sugar technology. It's called HeiQ Fresh FFL. That's a technology that has been adopted by the Gap Group. That's a $14 billion US fashion group, which is in shelf with Old Navy and being expanded to their other brands as we speak. And it's a 100% bio-based technology that controls the odors in a novel way. So very nice continuity of evolution from our initial technology over all these years to a bio-based compound giving the same effect with a more renewable and sustainable source. Lately, we have been able to be part of the solution for this terrible pandemics that is affecting our world, but especially affecting our industry and threatening a lot of workers, jobs, livelihoods of people. I'm thinking of the families in Bangladesh, which are losing their job because of missing orders, and all the families being affected by the bread bringer not having a job and a salary, and this then also results very quickly in less education and less health and many implications that come with it. So the consequences of the pandemics are grave, especially for countries that do not have all the luxury and buffers that a country like Switzerland has, and our thinking is with them, and we try to create technology that can help. One of these technologies that we created to help solve the problem in the pandemics is HeiQ ViralBlock. And HeiQ ViralBlock is also a bio-based technology. 72% of its content is bio-based. It works based on a cosmetic-grade liposome, which is destroying the viral membrane in extremely short times, and allows then a tiny part of silver that we are adding to this product to oxidize the viral RNA and make the virus non-infective in minutes. And that's a big advantage of the technology, the speed of destruction that it has with the enveloped viruses like SARS-CoV-2, the virus that is causing COVID-19. And we have fortunately been able to help a lot of companies to keep their production going, their mills going. We estimate that HeiQ ViralBlock has been used in the meantime in over 1 billion masks. So we are really there to help people to have safer protection equipment that is managing viral loads and destroying them very quickly. This has been also a typical example for HeiQ. The problem came, we had a scientific network, we could inform the market need. We need an antiviral technology on textiles very quickly. In 8 weeks, we were able to scale up to big volumes. That's another uniqueness of HeiQ. Per number of employees, we are the biggest manufacturer in the textile chemical industry. So we have 5 times more capacity than the second biggest one. So HeiQ has a total of 35,000 tons with 5 manufacturing plants globally where we are operating. And also here a uniqueness that as an agile company, we're able to access the large capacity and we do the manufacturing step ourselves. But coming back to ViralBlock, we were able in 8 weeks to go to market, to launch, and we have been able to serve customers around the globe. In the meantime, we have over 400 licensees for the HeiQ ViralBlock technology that are on the market, that are bringing textile technologies with antiviral properties to market. And we think this is a great thing. One, we create safer textiles and we help in these pandemics to protect the textile surfaces. But 2, we also help the mills to keep working and to offer antiviral textiles to the market, which are in demand. So we are supporting the economical welfare of our partners, of our clients, to stay on the market in very tough times. Maybe to expand a bit further on other technological families, we started very early on to work in the world of fluorine-free technologies. We're one of the first guys going in this field to see that we had to replace the perfluorinated compounds, which are accumulative and persistent in the environment. And we are one of the market leaders in the innovation side in these fields. A brand to mention, a couple of brands to mention that stand out for sustainability with their identity and also with our technology. Patagonia is using our HeiQ Eco Dry technology for water repellent, but also Burton, which is known to all the snowboard fans. So this is 2 companies that pride themselves to be standing for a sustainable approach to nature and the usage of raw materials. Another key technological range that we came up with, we created from scratch. We were approached a couple of years back by IKEA. That's the market leader in home furniture worldwide, a 46 billion company. They did ask us if we could take care of volatile organic components like formaldehyde in indoor climate, which is carcinogenic. And we came up in a development that we did with and for them with the Gunrid curtain. So if you go to IKEA shops, you can see Gunrid. And Gunrid is the world's first air sanitizing curtain that exists. So you hang it behind your window, and with the daylight that comes in, it will destroy 80% of the harmful chemicals that are in the indoor air. So it creates a much better, safer, healthier indoor air, which is especially important in mega cities where the air quality is very bad, and where you would like in your homes to have as clean air as possible with as least contaminants or toxic compounds as possible. And this is what we can do with a very simple piece of textile. So people don't think on textile normally to be carrying technologies. Well, that's HeiQ's job, to inform textiles to bring technology to market. And this is a wonderful technology that we came up where we can really help the many people by having better air quality indoors with a very, very simple, very affordable curtain that can be put behind the window and will be one of the key tools that mothers and fathers have to make sure that in their home the air quality is improved. This is to give you a little bit a picture of where we play. Maybe lastly, I touch on thermoregulation, which is one of our strong suits. We developed the world's first dynamic cooling technology, the HeiQ Smart Temp range. This is a technology that allows you to cool your skin by 2 to 3 degrees, and it's getting more and more relevant if you think about the Japanese nation when Fukushima disaster happened, or all their atomic power plants were turned down, over 50. The energy supply of the country was in severe distress, and the law prohibited to run air conditioners if the temperature in the houses or offices was not above 28 degrees Celsius. So it was much more difficult to be in the office with hot temperature. Japan is a very formalistic country. You have to dress with suit and tie. And our technology was a big support because we could cool the people more by using a simple textile technology instead of an air conditioner, and managing the dynamic evaporation very clearly. It's also here a big benefit that we were able to bring to the many people, and where we also contribute to more sustainability with the cooling technology, because it makes you more at comfort when the temperatures rise and you do not have to rely on energy consuming cooling aggregates that otherwise are using resources that are not renewable. So this to give a bit tour de horizon on our main product families. There's many more. HeiQ has 200 and plus products. We do serve today over 400 brands worldwide, and you can put the big ones like IKEA, but you can also put the small ones like Speedo, who nonetheless stand for ultimate performance, with whom we innovate to create the fastest swimsuits, or you can talk with big non-woven players like Alstrom Munksjö, where we are creating novel filters for this current crisis that have an improved filtration for personal protection equipment. So we have a very ample range of customers, from carpet to curtains to fashion to sports or home textile, where we are present and where we are innovating in order to bring an added value for the consumer, bring an added value that is perceivable, tangible, and brings a very often a very clear sustainability benefit.
Wow, that's really impressive. And I think it's an amazing list of different products, different solutions. Some of them I think every country should be using. Probably I need to use some of these products myself, but as well a lot of amazing things that I think, especially if you look at the news, we only see the negative stuff, and I think we really need to highlight. So I think we need to make sure your products are more promoted as well, because I think they're very useful for everyone, especially with the panic that is going on. So one of the things that HeiQ is quite unique is that it has a three-in-one company: scientific research, specialty materials, and manufacturing and consumer ingredient branding. And all of them improving the lives of billions of people, like you just mentioned, but as well working with all these everyday products of textile and fashion and retail. So how do you manage all these different things? And I know that you talk about the scientific part, but this is not easy, especially in the textile industry, that most of it is managed by emerging markets countries that are struggling, that have no digital performance. They are completely right now, well, most of them are really suffering massively with COVID-19. But as well, this is something that around the world, there's a lot of necessity of creating and bringing probably a lot of this triangle part, I think, for any business, but specific for this industry. So I'd like to hear your input and insights on this.
One thing that we like to do at HeiQ, and it's also why we are able to manage this complexity, the complexity that HeiQ is built to manage. And one of the key components is that we like to share, and we like to share knowledge, and we like to share know-how, which is a fundamental part of opening a discussion, a debate with the other side. So when we are working in the value chain with the developing countries and with the manufacturing partners that we have there, we like to explain why things work as they work, why technology works, what they can improve. And we do take the time to do this, which is a unique trait. We are a knowledge-based company, and we think that by sharing knowledge, people and companies can improve. And the surprising thing is that when you do share knowledge, that people open up and share knowledge from their side. So we learn from the real problems that the market has, and we learn how we can help them to solve and address their concerns and the problems. So this is probably one of the most important characteristics that HeiQ has. We have a lot of knowledge, and we like to share that knowledge with our partners in the value chain in order to create better products with benefits, with more sustainability, with more profitability also for our partners, so that they also have a return of investment for the work that they are doing and can improve their lives.
More and more, this kind of industries need to have ecosystems like you've been building between the academy of the business, the certifications, but as well the innovation that comes out of this, and they can actually expand more. So you recently have been going, well, I know that it's been going for some time with an IPO for that, which makes your company really a much bigger pole position, and I'm sure as well bringing more investment and as well growth. How do you see that part, and as well how can we know about this and get engaged as well, the ones that want potentially to invest or be involved?
Yeah, well, there's it's certainly a big step for HeiQ to go public. HeiQ is still a teenager, so it's only 15 years old, and already walking alone now in the big world of public companies. So we all live it as a team, as a big challenge to us, but we also live it as a big opportunity for the company. It's the next step that the company needs to take to grow on a more global scale, and also to tell its counterparts and its partners worldwide that it has what it always has had, a very high level of compliance with the rules and the laws, but also compliance, if you want, with the thought, where we try to have as a company very clear thought and a very clear action following this clear thought. And if you want the advantage that the company will have is that it will be able to expand its network at a faster pace. And this is what success for HeiQ means. It's having broad networks and connecting the dots and being able to, thanks to this connecting the dots, create solutions for problems that exist in the market, or discover also unmet needs that can be informed, like we did, for example, with the air cleaning, air sanitization curtain. So we are very respectful of this big step for us, but we think it will give HeiQ the market presence that it deserves, and it will also put it in a place where HeiQ has the possibility as a company to grow in different markets and to access even more decision makers and have more impact, because impact is a very important thing for us and our technologies. One I didn't mention before is our HeiQ Clean Tech product range. It's a technology that could potentially have an impact to save 1% of total global CO2 emission by year. And when could it have that? If all the 500,000 plus polyester dyers in this world, or jets, would switch to a more sustainable technology that we offer, then not only would they make more money and have more capacity, but also would they save a third of water, energy, and CO2 emission that is involved with the process of the dyeing of polyester. That's what we call impact technologies. But impact technologies need to be placed, they need to be promoted, and being public will give us access to more decision makers, where we can then make the argument, the scientific argument, for a beneficial, sustainable technology to be promoted and scaled and adopted at a larger pace. And we're very well aware that bringing technologies to market is something where you can be the leader, where you go to market the fastest one. HeiQ likes to be the first mover, but then again, HeiQ likes to share. For example, the ViroBlock technology, which is coming as a tremendous collateral damage for our societies. We have immediately in the beginning decided to share that technology with 3 of our competitors in order to maximize the availability of the technology in the market, and in order to offer it to whoever wanted it and be part of the solution to fight this. So this is also a thinking that we have, that we create novel technologies, but if we want to make them very successful on a global scale, we will also have them go to market. And being public is a way how we can do this better in future, and how we can have more novelty come to market and help quicker and faster to improve the life of billions of people.
So any specific things about the IPO that you want to share? Because it's I know that you're listing in Switzerland, but it's there's an ambition to go to global parts, because I think it's really impressive all the work you've been doing, but I think it's a great opportunity. I'm sure that a lot of investors will be attracted by a company that has so much high profile, and as well a possibility to grow much more, because I think, like you mentioned, the technology and the products you've been building are create much more solutions within the industry. And I think especially the textile and fashion industry at large is struggling massive with everything related with all these areas. And definitely your experience and a company like yours can lead a lot of different benchmarks and as well cutting edge solutions for the industry.
This international thinking is really a big part of who we are. And if you look at HeiQ, then we are 100 people, about 25 nationalities in 13 countries, working together around the clock. So when my co-founder Murray goes to bed and is not finished with something, he hands it over to to myself or our Swiss team to work overnight and pick it up in the morning again. So this international thinking and this around the globe is really part of our DNA, and this has also informed our choice. So we're not listing in Switzerland, we are listing in London on the main board. And the reason why we took the choice for London is because it is a very accessible market for our friends from Asia and also for our friends from the US. And we from Switzerland do not have too far away to go there. So HeiQ will be a listed English company, which again, you would say that's a strange choice for a Swiss company, but we do see ourselves to be a company of the world, so it doesn't really matter. What matters for us is the right networks and the right access, and this is where our choice has been driving us to go for the London Stock Exchange instead of the Swiss Stock Exchange.
No, it's a great choice, and congratulations for that. And looking forward to see the results and potentially even to get engaged myself. So congratulations for that. So 2 last questions, and I think we're passing the 1 hour benchmark, but I still want to touch 2 questions. So one of the questions is definitely about the industry at large. So we touched that, but I would like to go a bit more deep. So the textile industry, as you know, is a massive industry. It's going through a massive challenge with COVID-19, especially a lot of companies right now, especially in retail, are struggling to keep up with the stores. It's going to become increasingly digital. And of course, that's all the areas of the virus that we're still going through, and there's still a lot of things to go. But as well, it has a massive issues in terms of sustainability and social impact. So you touched these things previously, and I think in your company, you're very conscious about this. But when it comes to the industry at large, how do you see this? Because we have, let's say, if you look at the biggest textile producers in the world, we're talking probably about China, India, Bangladesh, and Vietnam, which are slightly different countries when it comes to our different ways of looking at sustainability and social impact. So you've been tackling this with your company, but as an industry player, how do you see these topics? And as well as someone with a lot of conscience for climate and the carbon footprint and all these different areas that come out of this.
Well, first of all, the important thing is that we look at the industry and we want to be part of improving it. The most important thing is we absolutely do not want to judge our industry, although we see all the flaws. And the reason why I'm saying this is I go back 200 years in history in Switzerland, and Switzerland was the poorest nation in Europe. And Switzerland was also the biggest cotton exporter and silk exporter worldwide. Okay, so we had what Bangladesh and India are today was Switzerland 200 years ago. So we have seen in our history the path from being a textile manufacturing nation to become a high-tech nation, which is producing innovation in completely different spaces. But the important thing is not to judge, because it's part of an evolution of a country where the economy stands and what the economical tissue that the country has is developing. But yes, there is significant downsides that come from the manufacture of textile that can be addressed much better by existing 21st century technology. The real issue that our industry has is the unfair distribution of the reward for the creation of the product, and also the race to the bottom, if you want. Race to the bottom on willingness to pay from consumers for products, which, if you go back in all the generations, is very present. Now, the older generations have had tough times for the most in their experiences, and the choice for the cheapest price is a natural choice and should also not be judged, because it is grown by experience and historic context. But if you do look at the younger generations today, they are very receptible for the message of more sustainability, more quality. So there is going to be an inversion going forward, and this inversion will pay or will help brands more that pay attention to sustainability and to higher quality, but equally also to a fairer distribution of the profit along the value chain. The textile industry is what I call atomized and squeezed for margin. When I say atomized, then every player is not vertical anymore, but has a small piece of its competence. And not being vertical and being singled out in one sector makes it very difficult for you to innovate and to improve your processes and to come up with something new. Integration of processes allows you to solve problems and improve much more easily, but integration also requires a lot of investment, and investment is difficult in many countries, especially if the yields are extremely low. Then they become very risky. Hence, you have this atomization in the value chain and the competences that happens. So we are approaching an industry where it's very hard to make big changes quick, because each level of competence needs to talk to the other level of competence and pass on an improvement. And mostly these improvements are not honored by an increased price tag. So it is an industry which, by definition of how it is built today, makes it extremely difficult to innovate and to optimize, as the incentives to do so are not there, and the knowledge to do so is very hard to get. So what we need to create, if we want to improve the textile industry, is to make the knowledge available, and the knowledge has to pass through the ranks. Hence, one of the functions of HeiQ, we like to share knowledge. And on the other side, we also need to be able to make the value chain participate to higher margins and to have a higher return, which means we need to create technologies that the consumer acknowledges as being superior and acknowledges as bringing him a benefit. Then we have more that can go in the value chain and be then distributed. And by solving these two problems that our industry has, we can contribute, and we can be a very small part of the solution, which we as an entire industry need to face together and make happen over the next decade.
Amazing, and it's very inspiring as well. And I think especially with the project Fashion ABC and other projects I've been seeing, this is more important than ever. But as well, it has to be a conscious for everyone listening to us. So I want to thank you for the 1 hour interview, and I think we will stick for this. So just before we go, and of course I could stay probably 1 hour more talking about the challenge of sustainability and all these areas, but I'll leave that probably for another call or even a panel. I will invite you for some things. But well, one of the things where people can find information about you, about your masks, can they buy your masks? Because I think even me, I buy masks, but sometimes I get confused if they really solve anything or it's just a spam stuff. So I think everyone, I'm sure in the world, is struggling with this.
Well, you can find HeiQ under HeiQ.com, and we have on that website a web shop. On the web shop, you can look for our masks, and you can buy our masks, which we started to make. Also here, we started to enter a market of masks because of demand. We were the first company that could supply Swiss hospitals. They were out of masks. We didn't have any inventories left. So we scrambled as a team to help, and we manufactured in the countries where we are present, and we organized the airplanes from Swiss Air to fly over and bring masks back to Switzerland and distribute them to the hospitals. So this has been a very stressful experience over the last months, is to go out of our comfort zone into consumer end products and direct to consumer business. It's working fine for us. We are making good progress in this field too, and we're informing it with knowledge and good technology and good products. So we are very much looking forward to have everybody wear a mask, because unfortunately the only way we can stop COVID at the moment is by being very diligent in protecting others by wearing masks ourselves and keeping the social distancing rules. and keeping a higher hygiene rule. And it will be a tough fight for the global society to get rid of this virus. I anticipate it will take us a couple of years at least still. Only together and united and being disciplined will flush it out of the system, which we obviously hope to happen as soon as possible.
Well, thank you. Great way to wrap up this, and I think definitely a very important message for everyone. So thank you so much, Carlo. We will put notes about the company and information, and as well about where people can find about even on the London Stock Exchange on all the different areas. So thank you so much for your time and for these amazing insights.
Thanks a lot.